Gee.
Geez, I can't do this down at the canal. I gotta get inside, boy. Okay, this Doody Digout here now. Well, now normally I'm do these from the St. Peter's Canal, but today I'm doing it from the inn on the canal because, well, it's a card trick, and well, there's a little bit of tequila involved, and well, I think it just makes better sense to do it inside. Now, another thing I want to say before I start is that this is a card trick. There's 52 cards in the deck, and all I'm trying to do is make a few of my friends, you know, smile, have a laugh, right? And like Furley Mode said, you know, he never let the truth get in the way of a good story, right? So, well, that's kind of what I'm doing. I just made up a little story here for fun. And that's all I want it to be, okay? Now, one day, about a week before the election, Andrew Scheer and Justin Trudeau were sitting in the Parliament buildings before the election, and Scheer said to Justin, well, let's have a friendly game of poker, Justin. It's been a rough week. And Justin said, sure, but you know, he said, I don't think it'll be much of a game with just the two of us. Can you pick up a few extra players? She said, oh yeah, no problem. Would you mind cutting the deck, sir? So Scheer left, and he went down to the bottom of Parliament Hill. Of course, he hung a left, and he went over 2 blocks. He went by 3 different bars, and he came back. And with him, he had Alfie McLeod, he had Eddie Orrell, he had Lisa Rayett, and you know, just for a little bit of wisdom and some seniority there, he brought in John Crosby. Well, geez, now Justin looked at that and he said, well, where did you find all those guys at? He said, oh, well, down on that club there, 844th Street. So, okay, well, that's great. Well, you know what? Well, I'm going to go and I'm going to get a few guys too, eh? So he left, and he went to the bottom of Parliament Hill. He hung a right, and he went over 1 block, and he went past 2 bars, and he came back. And with him, he had Mike Killaway, he had Jane Philpott, he had Jody Wilson Raber, and for a little bit of wisdom and to offset John Crosby, he brought in Sheila Copps. So, geez, Scheer said, well, where did you find her at? And said, well, down on that club, it's called the 864 Club there. Said, okay, so they were just getting ready to start, and John Crosby looked over at Sheila, and he said, well, you know what? Before we start, I think we should have 2 shots of tequila, Sheila. So, you know, so they had the 2 shots, and now they're getting ready to play, and the first thing, a knock comes on the door. In walks Elizabeth May. Geez, Elizabeth looks at them and she says, what are you guys doing here? There's an election going on. You guys should be out politicking. And they both said, look, Elizabeth, we had a rough week. We're just sitting back here relaxing. We're having a friendly game of poker, you know. She said, oh my God, I had a rough week too. My God, you know, I'm not much of a poker player, but could I sit in and join you? Well, they both agreed to that pretty quick when they heard she couldn't play poker, and they said, yes, sit down. Oh, you'll have to go get a few extra guys to even up the team. So she said, oh, no problem, I can go. And she went out the door, and what she did, she went down to the bottom of Parliament Hill, and she went over 3 bars, and she came back. She had 4 for ace candidates. She had Clive Doucette, Mark de Brun, Andrew Weaver and Lois Foster. So they said, well, you know, where did you get them at? And she said, oh, down in that new club they just built by the recycle place. It's called the Fifth Club. Okay, let's get this game underway. And she looked around at everybody and she said, well, before we start, I think we should have 2 shots of tequila, Sheila. They had the shots just like this. Oh, those Mexicans. So anyway, they had their shots of tequila, and then they started playing cards. Now, the game was going back and forth, nothing too exciting. And then all of a sudden, Andrew Shear got right fidgety, you know, in the seat. And he said, I'm going to bet 10 of my seats that I'm going to get in Quebec, and I'm going to get 10 of my seats that I'm going to get in the Maritimes. Well, Elizabeth May kind of rolled her eyes at that one, right? And Trudeau said, well, I'm going to call you with 10 of the seats I'm going to get in Alberta and 10 seats I'm going to get in Saskatchewan. Well, Elizabeth kind of, you know, really rolled her eyes at that one. And she said, well, look, you guys, you know, I don't have a very good hand here, but, you know, I can't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. So if you guys will agree, I'll put up 8 of my provincial seats that I have in PEI. And so they all agreed to that. So they disclosed their hands, and geez, a big argument erupted. And Elizabeth went for security. And cut the deck, please. And she went. They were in the Parliament building, so she just went out in the hall, and she hollered, and she came back, and she had 4 security guards with her, right? So the first security guard looked at Elizabeth May, and he said, listen, Elizabeth, he asked Elizabeth how old she was. And she said, well, look, I'm 65 years old, but a lot of people say I could pass for 35. Well, at that point, you know, Justin and Andrew, they nearly spit out their drinks, but, you know, who am I to say, judge people? So then they asked her, they said, well, where do you live, Elizabeth? She said, well, I live right now on 26 Rideau Street. But within 2 or 3 weeks' time, I'm going to be in 24 Sussex Drive. Yeah, right. So the other guy, he said, well, what happened here anyway? And she said, well, look, we were playing straight draw poker, and Andrew Shear had 3 7s. And he bet 20 of his seats that he figured he was going to get out in the East Coast. And Justin called him with 3 9s. He had 3 9s, and he had bet 20 of his seats that he figured he was going to get out west. Okay, now, and my God, you know, I looked at my hand, and I had a straight flush. Well, you know, here's Doody from the Inn on the Canal.
I can't take all this squabbling and I won't stand no your lies. But I ain't gonna take it anymore. My baby's so mean to me. My baby's so mean to me. My woman, she's so